Hi, my name is Samuel Hernandez, and in 2 weeks, actually less than 2 weeks, I'll be graduating from college. This might not seem like a big deal to some of you guys, but this is a really big deal to me. And let me explain why. A little more than 6 years ago, I was enrolled in Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas, my hometown. I grew up in this town, I grew up around this college, and to me, it was a natural progression to just go to this college. But I wasn't going to college as a college student, I was actually still in high school. And as a high school student, I was allowed to enroll in the concurrent program. That basically meant that I got to do college level courses as a high schooler, but get college credit for it. So I could graduate high school with my associate's degree in hand and go right into the major of my choice. This sounds like a great deal, right? Well, it was, and I took full advantage of it. I had spent 2 years already at this point in the concurrent program. And I was entering into my last semester. I had picked out all my classes, and I was fairly confident in myself that I was going to finish strong, and I was going to finish with my associate's degree and move on to the most amazing life you could possibly imagine. At the end of that 6-month period, I had failed a Texas history course, and I was kicked out of the concurrent program. Any failure, anything below a D got you kicked out, and that's where I was, kicked out on the street, gone. You could say I was pretty disappointed. I was a little bit depressed, and you know what? I was a little bit relieved as well. It's a lot of pressure being in college, maintaining those standards and pursuing goals that other people may set for you. But nevertheless, here I was at the end of my rope, as it seemed, completely done. With all my resources expended, I didn't have anywhere left to go. And because it was a high school college program, I didn't even get a high school diploma. As a matter of fact, my whole education career stopped dead in its tracks right there. So the only thing I had left to do, or in my opinion left to do, was go to work full time, which is what I did. I found work locally at a glass shop, not too far from my house. And I began working there full time. And that's where I spent the next 3 years of my life, working, which pretty basically it was construction work. Doing that on a daily basis for 3 years. During those 3 years, I kind of gave up. I didn't really feel like I had any purpose. I didn't feel like I had anything left in my life. And in my head, I could hear myself saying all the time, this is it, this is it, this is where you're gonna be. But at the end of a 3-year period working there, I discovered that this was not who I am, and that I have the ability to achieve more in my life. And so here I am, 3 years after that, 2 weeks away from graduating college. And I really want to share with you in this short time a few of the things that really helped me get to where I am right now. And there's only 3 things that I really want to focus on, because those 3 things really make up the foundation for anything you want to do in life. So the first thing I want to focus on that really made a big difference for me was that I had to direct myself. I got to the end of my career in glass, and I discovered that this is not where I wanted to be, that I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to do something else, and I believed once again, that I could achieve something great. So I gave myself direction. And the first thing that I had to do was, because I failed high school, was to get a high school diploma. And because going back to high school was not an option when you're 21 years old, my best choice at that point was to get a GED, which is what I did. I saved up my money, I paid for the test, I took it, and I passed. And I remember that feeling I got when I received my GED certificate. When I opened it up and I could almost see my doors fling wide open to my future. The potential came back. I could do anything I wanted to do now. It felt like I was alive again almost. And now that I had this potential, I had to direct it. What was I gonna do? Where was I gonna go? What was I gonna pursue? And I spent a couple of months researching and finally found a college that had what I was looking for, and I applied for it, and within 2 weeks of applying, I was accepted, and within those 2 weeks, I packed up everything I had and moved up here to Dallas, Texas. And when I got to this place, I discovered that the way of life that I had been living was gonna need to change, so that way I could be effective where I was in my life. So a couple of things that I had to learn to do was manage my time, manage my money, and manage my relationships. So managing money was something that I had never thought about doing before. Because I worked full time, I was living by myself, I didn't have any expenses other than a phone, rent, gas. That leaves a lot of money in your pocket to just spend on whatever. So I got to this place and the money that I had saved up was gone into my first year's worth of tuition. I had to learn that sometimes eating is better than playing the newest video game. And with those sacrifices that I made, I began to realize that by living on a smaller budget, by saving my money, by being smarter with my money, I actually ended up having more of it than I thought I would to spend on going out to eat and hanging out with friends, even paying for other friends to go out to eat, which helped build relationships, which helped bring me closer to the people who were where I was. And that leads me to my second point. I had to manage my relationships. When I left home, I didn't realize this, but sometimes you're gonna have to leave the people that you were closest to when you move into someplace new. And that was difficult for me at first because I never thought that I would have to give up those relationships. But when we disconnected by me moving away, by pursuing different things in life, by choosing different career paths, it became really apparent to me that if I was going to get anywhere, I needed to connect with the people who were where I was, who were doing the same things I was doing, who were going to the same places I was going. And so I had to give up relationships, and I made new ones. I built up friendships, and those friendships began to open doors for me to things that I had never considered before. Right now, I'm a graphic designer. I never thought that I would be a graphic designer, but the people I got to know, the friendships that I began to build, helped develop me into that place. And so here I am now, graphic designer, no experience in the past, and it's all because I built those relationships and let those doors open. And the last thing that I really want to hit on is managing time. Because if you don't manage your time, you'll end up wasting a whole lot of it. And that's what I was doing. My first couple of semesters were, as most of you know, when you go to college, your first couple of semesters are really light and easy. And I took advantage of that. I'd go to class, I'd come back, I'd nap, I'd play video games, I'd go chill in the rec room. I'd do whatever I wanted to do and really gave no thought to studies and to pursuing other things outside school. And because I was on scholarship, I didn't really have to work either. So as you can imagine, I wasted a lot of time. But as I began to build up and move further and further into this college, I realized that I was going to have to manage my time a lot better. And so that's what I did. I ended up having to sit down and schedule out my entire day. And I had to schedule out every day of that week. And I ended up scheduling every week of that month until I was scheduling every month of that year. And it seems like a lot, but when you really put things down on paper, you begin to realize where your time is actually going and how you can spend it better. Someone once said that you only manage what you measure, and I found that to be incredibly true, not just in my time, but my money and my relationships. And because of all these things, the relationships, because of the money managing, because of the time managing, in my third year at this school, I was offered a scholarship, a full scholarship, and a staff position because I had been responsible for what I had, because I took care of the things that were given to me, and I spent my time and my money and my relationships well. So here I am 2 weeks out, about to graduate, about to move on to my next stage in life, and I feel like now there is more potential than I've ever had. There's more opportunity than I could have ever imagined. And this is for somebody who never actually graduated high school. To me, this is a hope message for anyone out there who believes that they've gone too far, that they can't pursue anything else, and that you're stuck where you are. I'm living proof that that's not true. In just a few short years, I turned my life completely around. And that's because I found direction, I directed myself, I managed myself, and I let myself explore. I discovered myself. I spent time pursuing the things that I liked, things that I wanted to do, and it's really paid off.